Hello artists! Today we are going to print our collagraph plates. We learned about collagraph printing. It's a type of printing where you put objects on a plate. Cardboard is what we used to create different textures and different abstract designs through this. So now it's time for us to print these. We are going to use tempera paint. I want you guys to choose two colors. Then you can also have black and white, but we're just going to stick with two colors within a color family. So I have chosen cyan and magenta. My color family will be purple, and then within that I can make different values on my plate. So I'm going to show you how we are going to print these. We need to paint the entire plate, all the objects on here, artists. And I always tell students, you cannot be too generous with the paint. You also need to work relatively quickly because tempera paint will dry pretty fast. And obviously, if the paint is dry, we won't get a good print. So notice how I am using my paintbrush to fill in the cracks and paint all around my shapes and on top of my shapes. You do not want to have big puddles of paint because if you have goopy amount of paint, obviously then you will not get a good image. You'll just get a blob of paint. But you want the paint to cover. So here, I don't want to just do it like this. I can still see cardboard underneath there. You want to make sure that all of the area, the surface area, is covered. Again, because we use so many textures, sometimes it might be hard to get into some of those cracks. If you have things going off the edge, you could put some paint on those too, but you don't have to. All right, now, my plate is pretty covered. So the next step is to actually put your plate on your table. You are going to already have gotten your paper you're going to print with and have your name on it. So you're going to now lay your paper on top of your plate. I like to leave a little bit of an edge. I don't do it all the way to the edge. I want to have maybe an inch or two. Now, this is the most important part. After covering your plate with paint, you really need to get your fingers in there and move around and push your paper into the plate. See how I'm rubbing? And I'm using some pretty good pressure. You could even use the palm of your hand to really push it in. The hand that you don't write with, I use that hand just to hold my paper and my plate in place. So I'm going to feel my plate down here. That way my plate won't slide around, my paper won't slide around, and I won't get a ghost image or a double image, because if my paper slides off my plate, I'll get a double image. So here you can see where one of my shapes is a circle, and I'm pushing the paper down so much, it's actually doing what we call embossing. It's making marks on my paper that reflect, that was bubble wrap, that reflect the images, the objects that I glued down to it. So you can see texture is popping through. That's good. You want to get an embossment. All right, my plate is stuck to my paper. That's a good sign. Now I will slowly peel my plate off to reveal my print. And I'm pretty excited about that. I had a little too much paint up here, and you don't see any texture at all, so my bubble wrap had too much paint on it. But I love the texture down here. I love these lines coming through, the subtlety of the marks here and up here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my plate. I am not going to put any more paint on it, and I'm going to do what's called a ghost print. So I have the other side of my paper. I'm just going to lay down. Now I'm really going to have to rub that plate to get all that extra paint off. Sometimes what you can also do to help get all that paint off is get your paper a little bit damp with a spray bottle or a sponge or a wet rag, because then that will release a little bit more of the paint also. So that's just a trick. Again, I'm going to rub pretty hard with my fingers. Take your time, artists. Really make sure you are pressing down all of those things that you glued to your plate so that you're revealing and getting as much paint as you can. Oh, I like that print even better than the first. Look at how nice the bubble wrap came out this time. So the ghost print, in a lot of cases, is a lot more interesting. This looks very much like a landscape to me. Like this is the horizon line, maybe a tree. This looks like some kind of a form, maybe even the setting of the sun, and hills or mountains back here. This is beautiful. I love it. All right, artists, once you are done with one paper, I want you to do 2 more prints. So you're going to have a total of 4 prints. Yes, you may change colors the second time round, so you don't even need to wash your plate. Just paint right over it. All right, have fun exploring with printmaking, artists.